Namaste, Witchlings. Welcome back to Bitchin Witch, the one night a week where I let myself talk about politics and rant and rave and swear like the sailor I once was. So, tonight we're going to start with something heavy. A little over a week ago, a 19-year-old University of Washington student named Juniper Blessing was murdered. 19 fucking years old. And the more details that come out about this case, the more horrifying it becomes. Because she wasn't walking through some dark alley at 3 a.m. She was in the laundry room of her own fucking apartment building, doing laundry. Just existing, handling ordinary everyday life. And according to prosecutors, the alleged killer followed another resident with a key card or a key into the building, went into the laundry room, looked for the cameras, stared directly into the one camera in the laundry room, and then the camera just goes dead, and they discovered that the power was disconnected. Now, this is not impulsive behavior in any way, shape, or form. That is somebody who allegedly knew exactly what the fuck he was getting ready to do. And according to court documents, this may not even have been his first attempt that night. Another UW student says he followed her into that same laundry room about 15 minutes prior, claiming he was waiting for laundry, which means another woman may have very, very narrowly escaped becoming his victim. That right there is fucking terrifying. And investigators now believe he may have been prowling around Ravenna in the days before this murder, allegedly attempting to enter private homes and other campus buildings. That is some serious predator behavior. And this is why women are fucking exhausted. Because every woman listening and watching knows the routine. Keys between your fingers. Text me when you get home. Share your location. Pretend to be on the phone. Don't wear both earbuds. And don't leave your drink unattended. I actually bought earbuds specifically to wear when I was walking the dogs that were open so that I could hear what's going on around me. We are literally taught survival before we are ever taught freedom. We are constantly told we're overreacting. Oh, he's probably harmless. You're being paranoid. Don't be dramatic. Meanwhile, our instincts are just trying to keep us alive. And there is another layer here that we have to acknowledge. Juniper was a transgender woman. Now, investigators have said they currently do not believe this was specifically a hate crime or a so-called trans panic case. Honestly, I was incredibly fucking relieved to hear that because I was so terrified this was going to turn into yet another situation where people start debating whether a trans woman's existence somehow excuses violence against her. But that doesn't mean anti-trans rhetoric is harmless, because when society constantly portrays trans people as dangerous, deceptive, or disposable, empathy erodes. Cruelty gets normalized. Human beings become political talking points instead of people. And Juniper was a person. Let's get that straight right here, right now. She deserved safety, dignity, and she sure as hell deserved the chance to grow older. Instead, another young woman is dead while politicians and pundits continue using vulnerable communities as ammunition in culture wars. And witchlings, violence against women does not happen in a fucking vacuum. It grows in cultures that reward entitlement, mock empathy, and teach women to manage male emotions for their own fucking safety. Now, most men are not murderers. I will acknowledge that. But nearly every woman has a story. That discrepancy should be setting off every fucking alarm bell we have. So tonight I want to say Juniper Blessing's name out loud because she was not just a headline. She's not just content for the news cycle. She is not just another statistic. She was human, and that matters. And then, my darling witchlings, let's talk Tennessee. Because I'm kind of pissed off about Tennessee right now. Apparently, Governor Bill Lee looked around at inflation, housing instability, collapsing healthcare access, rising hate crimes, and the general dumpster fire that is late-stage capitalism, and thought, you know what America really needs right now? Government-sponsored heterosexual nostalgia. Governor Bill Lee has officially designated June as Nuclear Family Month in the state of Tennessee. Now, let's not pretend the timing is accidental, considering June has been recognized nationally as Pride Month since 1999. The amendment defines a nuclear family as one husband, one wife, and any biological, adopted, or fostered children. Then goes on to call that structure God's design for familial structure. Excuse the fuck out of me? Excuse the ever-loving fuck out of me, because the government does not get to declare one religion's family model the official moral ideal. That is not how separation of church and state is supposed to work. And honestly, the historical illiteracy here is staggering. Human families have never existed in one singular structure. Extended families, single parents, grandparents raising kids, communal households, chosen families, and queer families. Human beings have always adapted family structures around survival, culture, loss, economics, and love. Always. Now look, if somebody personally wants the traditional husband-wife-kid setup, cool, fucking awesome for you, genuinely. There is absolutely nothing wrong with that. The problem starts. Celebrate your wedding. Hell, I'll even officiate. I don't care if you're gay, straight, or if you want to have me bless a polyamorous polycule. Don't give a flying fuck. Small little sidebar there, but, the problem starts when the very government implies that every other family structure besides husband, wife, kids is somehow lesser. Because that's exactly what this fucking resolution does. You cannot elevate one model as God's design without simultaneously stigmatizing everybody outside of it. And then the amendment starts fear-mongering about fatherless homes, acting like social problems are going to magically disappear if you shove everybody into heterosexual marriage. That is wildly simplistic bullshit. Abuse happens in straight households. Hi, domestic violence survivor. Neglect happens in straight households. Hi, child abuse survivor. Violence happens in straight households. Hi, I watched what I referred to as my friendly family conversations where I watched my brothers shove heads through walls. A marriage certificate is not a magical force field against dysfunction. And honestly, the nuclear family is under attack rhetoric feels less like concern for families and a whole lot more like manufactured panic designed to scapegoat marginalized people. Because queer people existing is not an attack on your fucking family. Other people building lives differently than you is not oppression. And when you intentionally create Nuclear Family Month during Pride Month, you are definitely sending a message. These families are acceptable. Those are not. And that's why people are angry. It's not because anybody hates families, but because exclusion dressed up as values is still exclusion. GLAAD responded to this by saying, the strongest families are grounded by love. And honestly, they are 100% right. Because love is what makes families sacred. Care makes families sacred. Safety makes a family sacred, not conformity. And witchlings, chosen family is sacred as fuck. For a lot of queer people, especially chosen family is survival. Sometimes the people who save you are not the people who share your DNA. Sometimes family is the friend who took you in, the partner who stayed, the community who showed up when nobody else did. That counts and it matters. So tonight, I am going to say this very clearly. Families come in many, many forms, and love is not diminished because it exists outside conservative Christian approval. And honestly, the government should spend a whole lot less time policing which families are correct and a whole lot more time helping people afford rent, groceries, healthcare, and, oh my God, childcare. That would do a hell of a lot more for families than symbolic moral grandstanding ever will. And now, we're going to move on from here. Now, my friends, it is time to step into dietheyogawitch.shop, where magic meets movement and your growth is supported on and off the mat. This is a space for transformation where yoga and life coaching come together to help you move forward with clarity, confidence, and purpose at a pace your nervous system can actually sustain. Alongside your practice, you'll find handmade, intention-infused jewelry and Dye the Yoga Witch merch such as coffee mugs, t-shirts, hoodies, and so much more. Yes, I included goodies for our furry familiars. How could Witchy Mama leave them out? So you can all carry a little magic with you each and every day. Tarot and oracle readings are available, of course, when you're seeking insight, and there are a limited number of local services offered to people who live here in the Puget Sound region. But the absolute heart of this space is supporting your daily practice, your growth, and your connection to yourself. If something in your life is shifting, growing, or asking for some deeper intention, this is your sign. Come explore what we can create together at dietheyogawitch.shop. If you're enjoying our podcast here and you'd like to take a step a little bit deeper into our coven here, please go ahead and tap on that join button to become a channel member. There are some really cool perks waiting for all of the Witchlings, with membership levels starting at just a single $1 a month. How affordable is that, y'all? Now, if membership isn't in the cards for you at the moment, please remember that you can still support this channel for free by subscribing and sharing this video with a friend and helping us grow our Witchling community. I appreciate all of you guys and your support. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for tuning in. Now, let's get back to the show. All right. Hey, Witchlings. We need to talk about Iran. Because while everybody is busy screaming at each other online, Congress is suddenly doing something we haven't seen nearly enough of in the last 20 fucking years, actually questioning whether the president should be able to drag our country into military conflict without any meaningful oversight. The Senate advanced a war powers resolution aimed at halting military action in Iran after Republican Senator, I'm going to say that part again, Republican Senator Bill Cassidy broke ranks and voted with Democrats. Now, we're going to be honest here. This thing still probably has a snowball's chance in Hades of becoming law. It would have to survive the Senate, the House, and an almost guaranteed presidential veto. But that's not actually the interesting part. The interesting part to this is that cracks are starting to show, because for decades now, presidents from both parties have steadily expended executive war powers while Congress just kind of stood there shrugging like, hey, I guess we're doing this now. And after 20 plus years of endless war in the Middle East, people are fucking tired. Veterans are tired. Military spouses are tired. Active duty families are tired. The general public is exhausted. And honestly, we should be. Because the people screaming loudest for war are almost never the people who actually have to bleed for it. It's really fucking easy to beat the drums of patriotism from behind a podium. It's a hell of a lot harder when you're the one missing birthdays, funerals, anniversaries, and years of your life because politicians decided another conflict was necessary. And before somebody inevitably twists my words here, I'm going to say this. Supporting troops and supporting military action are not the same fucking thing. I wholeheartedly support my brothers and sisters in arms. I do not currently support the administration giving the orders. These are not the same thing, and they never have been. And honestly, I think more military families are starting to say that part out loud. I was watching a video from military spouse and YouTuber Kendall Brown. She's one of my favorites. And she was talking about how Trump and Republicans are rapidly losing support from veterans and active duty military families. And frankly, I believe it. Because military families are tired of being treated like patriotic stage props every fucking election season. Tired of support the troops bumper stickers from politicians who vote against veteran health care. We are tired of lawmakers wrapping themselves in the flag while military housing has mold, VA wait lists are a fucking nightmare, enlisted families are struggling financially, and mental health resources are stretched beyond thin. And let me make this real fucking tangible to you for a second. Damn it. You see, let's see, there it is. You see this thing? This is an electrode for a TENS unit right now that I'm wearing right now. I have been dealing with a pinched nerve in my brachial plexus since late last year. About 8 fucking months. I was finally making progress with treatment through community care when I ran out of approved appointments. And instead of how it used to be, my provider just being able to tell TriWest, hey, hi, this patient clearly still needs care, they changed the fucking process. So now I had to go all the way back through my PCP to get a new referral, for the referral to be sent to TriWest, for TriWest to sit on it for a month, and then, oh yeah, we're going to approve that. Now I get in touch with my provider, and unfortunately she is out of the country for the next 2 weeks. Because apparently, making disabled veterans restart bureaucratic obstacle courses while they're already in pain is somebody's brilliant fucking idea of efficiency. So here I am, using a TENS unit, basically to it, using a TENS unit 24/7 for weeks. And for the people who don't know, this kind of treatment is usually supposed to be used for a few hours at a time, not continuously. You are not supposed to sleep in one of these things. I can't sleep if I turn it off. Because if I turn it off right now, I am in so much fucking pain that I can not function. So that is what supporting the troops looks like in reality right now for a whole lot of us veterans. Once those speeches and flag waving stop, we have endless hoops, delays, bureaucracy, and fighting for care while your body is already fucking exhausted, and we will not even go into PTSD care. So forgive me if I get a little bit pissed off when politicians scream about patriotism while veterans are out here having to fucking beg the system for basic medical treatment. They'll happily give me Flexeril or Baclofen or Motrin, 400, 600, maybe 800 milligram Motrin pills. But now, but real treatment? Yeah, fuck that shit. So now we're staring down yet another potential escalation. Except this time the escalation is with Iran, while gas prices are already climbing through the roof, and people are wondering if we're about to get dragged into yet another fucking prolonged conflict nobody can clearly define the end game for. That matters. Because one thing we Americans have learned, whether they're left, right, center, veteran, civilian, what the fuck ever, is that wars are real fucking easy to start and really fucking hard to end. Especially when the goals keep changing. Especially when politicians refuse to be honest about the cost. And here's where I need people to pay attention. Even Bill Cassidy's statement after the vote wasn't some anti-military manifesto. He literally said he supports dismantling Iran's nuclear program. What he objected to was Congress being left in the dark. That is important, because this isn't just about whether people support military action. It's also about whether we still believe constitutional checks and balances actually fucking matter. Congress is supposed to authorize war. It is literally part of our fucking Constitution. The founders were deeply wary of giving one person unchecked authority to drag the nation into conflict. They understood that war consolidates power fast. Fear makes populations compliant fast. And over the last 2 fucking decades, we've watched executive war powers balloon under both Republican and Democratic administrations. Meanwhile, ordinary people are paying the price. Gas prices go up. Food prices go up. Global instability increases. When the United States catches a cold and sneezes, the entire fucking world gets that cold. Young troops get deployed and therefore families panic, and veterans carry trauma home for the rest of their fucking lives. Meanwhile, defense contractors make billions. Funny how that part keeps happening, huh? And let me tell you something else as a vet. A lot of people outside the military community romanticize war because they experience it as abstraction. You know, maps, stats, flags, sound bites, cable news graphics. But for military families, war is deeply personal. It's the phone call that you dread, or worse, the officer and the chaplain knocking on your door. The silence after deployment, the hypervigilance, the PTSD, the marriages that don't survive, and those kids who barely know one parent because the government keeps shipping them overseas. That's the reality of all of this. And honestly, I think the American public has gotten really good at performative patriotism while remaining utterly and completely disconnected from the human cost of military conflict. Right after 9/11, speaking of, performative patriotism, right after 9/11, flags were everywhere. Everybody was bragging about how patriotic they were. I did not have anything patriotic on my minivan at that time. This was like couple of days after. I'm stopping at Walmart to pick up a dress for my husband's homecoming because he was deployed, and this woman stops me and asks me where my patriotism is. And I'm like, excuse me? Well, where's your flag? Where's your patriotism? Bitch, take a look at the sticker on my fucking windshield. You see that sticker? Yeah, that's a base sticker. Do you know what that means? That means my husband is active duty. And oh, by the way, right now I am sexually deprived for your fucking freedom because he has been underway for the last 6 months. You want patriotism? My husband is active duty. I'm a fucking disabled veteran. Where's your enlistment paperwork? Yeah, performative patriotism. People love saying heroes, but they sure as fuck don't want to fund the VA. They don't want to address veteran homelessness. They do not want to deal with traumatic brain injuries, PTSD, disability, addiction, survivor's guilt, or the serious long-term fallout of repeated fucking deployments. Everybody loves the troops when they're symbols. It gets a hell of a lot quieter when we veterans become inconvenient. And now, here we are again. Yet another administration flirting with escalation. Another wave of uncertainty. Yet another moment where ordinary people are expected to trust that the people in power definitively have everything under control. You'll forgive me if I'm not overflowing with confidence right now, because history tells us otherwise. And honestly, I think what scares me the most is how quickly war rhetoric becomes normalized. The language shifts fast. Suddenly, military escalation becomes strength. Questioning strategy becomes disloyalty. Concern becomes weakness. And that is dangerous as fuck. Because democracy requires skepticism, and it requires oversight, accountability, and debate. Not, and I'm going to say that word again, not blind obedience wrapped in a motherfucking flag. And the fact that even some Republicans are starting to push back tells me something really important. The appetite for endless war may finally be wearing thin. At least I fucking hope so. Because somehow every motherfucking generation gets told this war will be the necessary one, the clean one, the righteous one. And meanwhile, cemeteries keep filling and oil companies keep cashing checks. You want to know something that's been getting under my skin really badly lately, my witchlings? How everything has become performance. It's not governments. Sure as the fuck not leadership. It's performance. Politics has become reality television for people who think they're too smart to watch reality television. Every day, there's yet another manufactured outrage. Another scandal, another historic moment, another breaking news banner screaming across every screen in America like the world is ending every 6 fucking hours. And meanwhile, people can't afford groceries. We can't access healthcare. People are drowning in debt. Teachers are burned out. Veterans are burned out. Parents are sure as the fuck burned out. And disabled people are burned out. And oh gee, I fall into every one of those categories because technically I'm a yoga teacher. Everybody is exhausted right now. And I honestly think part of the reason we're all so fucking exhausted is because modern politics has figured out how to weaponize our nervous systems. I'm serious. We are living in a non-stop cortisol machine. Fear, outrage, shock, panic, repeat. And the media profits from it. Politicians profit from it. Social media platforms profit from it because terrified people click, angry people engage, emotionally overwhelmed people are easier to manipulate because eventually your brain stops distinguishing genuine emergencies and rage bait. And once that one happens, well, at that point people become reactive instead of thoughtful. And that's dangerous as hell. Because when people are constantly emotionally flooded, they stop asking the bigger questions. Questions like, why does nothing materially improve, no matter who's in charge? Why are corporations making record profits while ordinary people can barely survive? Why are politicians spending more time performing outrage than actually governing? Why does every election get framed as the literal apocalypse while basic systemic problems never get solved? Because spectacle is distracting, and distraction is useful. Now listen, I'm not saying every news story is fake or unimportant, because obviously not. Some things are genuinely urgent. But there is a difference between being informed and being psychologically waterboarded by a 24-hour outrage cycle. And I think a lot of us crossed that line a long fucking time ago, especially after the last decade or so. We've gone from, here's the news, to here's a carefully engineered emotional experience designed to keep you doom scrolling until your nervous system entirely collapses. And social media made it worse. Because now, every single human being is expected to have an immediate hot take on every geopolitical conflict, every tragedy, every celebrity scandal, every act of violence, every piece of legislation, every protest, every goddamn motherfucking thing happening on the planet at all times. That is not normal human behavior. Human beings were not built to process this much crisis information simultaneously. And you can see the effects. People are shorter with each other, meaner with each other, more reactive, paranoid, and isolated than ever. And honestly, I think a lot of powerful people really prefer it that way. Because isolated, exhausted people are so much easier to control. Wow, what a thought. Community is incredibly dangerous to authoritarianism. Rest is dangerous to authoritarianism. Critical thinking is very dangerous to authoritarianism. But fear, ho, honey. Fear is useful because it keeps people obedient, tribal, and too emotionally overwhelmed to organize effectively. And meanwhile, politicians on both sides of the aisle have figured out that outrage is so much easier than governance. Actually solving problems is hard. Performing anger for the cameras? That's easy. Posting inflammatory shit online? Easy as fuck. Creating culture war distractions so nobody notices the billionaire class robbing the country blind. Extremely fucking easy. And before anybody starts clutching their pearls, yes, I absolutely think there are real social issues worth fighting about. Human rights matter, reproductive rights matter, queer rights matter, racism matters, and economic inequality very definitely matters. But holy fuck, some politicians act like screaming at marginalized groups is somehow equivalent to governing an actual country. It's all branding now. Strong leader, patriot, defender of family values, voice of the people. It's marketing. And a terrifying amount of modern politics runs on aesthetics instead of substance. Who sounds confident? Who dominates the headlines? Who creates the biggest emotional reaction? Not who is actually improving people's lives. And honestly, that scares the fuck out of me. Because once politics becomes pure spectacle, reality starts getting distorted. War becomes branding, cruelty becomes entertainment, empathy becomes weakness, and human suffering becomes content. You can literally watch this happen in real time online. A tragedy occurs, and within minutes, people are already trying to figure out how to turn it into ideological ammunition. Not how do we help, but how do we use this? Let's take a school shooting. Wait, no. The mosque shooting in San Diego yesterday. Haven't seen it yet, but I haven't really been looking. 10-1. The one side is saying we're sending our thoughts and prayers. The other side is saying we need stricter gun control. And abso-fucking-lutely nothing is going to happen either way. That shit is fucking poison. And I think one of the greatest thefts happening right now is the theft of our ability to feel fully human. Because when you're constantly overwhelmed, eventually you either numb the fuck out completely or become addicted to outrage itself. And neither of those states is healthy. And that's why I keep talking about community. Not in some live, laugh, love way. No, I am not that cheesy. Well, I am, but you know. I mean actual, genuine, human connection. Neighbors helping neighbors, people checking on each other, mutual aid, friendship, real conversations, and offline relationships. That is one of the reasons I co-founded the Civic Care Collective. Because systems built on fear and spectacle start breaking down when people reconnect with each other as actual human beings instead of ideological avatars. And honestly, I think that's a big part of why authoritarian movements always attack education, art, journalism, queer communities, independent thinkers, community organizers first. Because connection creates resistance. Empathy creates resistance. People who can still see each other's humanity are harder to radicalize into cruelty. And right now, that cruelty is being normalized at an absolutely horrifying pace. Mocking disabled people, dehumanizing immigrants, treating queer people like predators, treating poverty like moral failure. Empathy is now weakness. Y'all, that's not strength. That's rot. And if we are not careful, outrage culture will hollow us out from the inside until we completely forget how to care about anything except winning arguments online. I don't want that. I don't want to become numb. I don't want to become cruel. I don't want to lose my capacity for grief, compassion, anger, or joy. And honestly, I don't think most people want that either. I think most people are just fucking tired. Tired of being manipulated, scared, and feeling like every single fucking day is another emotional assault on the nervous system. And maybe, just maybe, the most radical thing we can do right now is refuse to let this machine turn us into monsters. Because once cruelty becomes normal, everybody loses. All right, my witchlings. We've talked about violence. We've talked about war. We've talked fear, manipulation, and the absolute nonstop outrage machine grinding people into dust. So now, let's talk about something a little more personal. I want to talk about exhaustion. Not in the cute, oh, I need a nap kind. I mean the deep, bone level exhaustion that comes from surviving in a world that keeps demanding more from you than you can physically, emotionally, or mentally give. And spoonies? Y'all know exactly where I'm going with this one. For anybody unfamiliar, spoonie comes from the spoon theory, a way many disabled and chronically ill people describe our limited energy reserves. Every task costs spoons. Showering takes spoons. Cooking takes a lot of spoons. Driving, spoons. Working, more spoons. Existing in pain, so many more spoons. Pretending you are okay when you're absolutely not costs a ridiculous amount of fucking spoons. And the problem is that modern society acts like everybody has unlimited energy, especially capitalism. Capitalism doesn't give a fuck if you're tired. It don't care if you are grieving, disabled, your nervous system is fried. It just keeps demanding productivity. More work, more output, more hustle, more emotional labor, and more availability. And eventually you start borrowing from tomorrow just to survive today. And that's the part... Ow. That's the part I really want to talk about here, because spoonies become experts at borrowing spoons from the future. You push through the flare, the pain, the migraine, the burnout, or the panic attack. You push through the exhaustion. Because life doesn't stop demanding things from you just because your body is struggling. Bills still exist. Appointments still exist. Jobs definitely still exist if you're lucky enough to have one. Family responsibilities, those still exist too. And so you borrow from tomorrow. And then tomorrow comes due, so you borrow from the next day or the next week. And that crash afterwards? Oh, honey, that would be the bill collector. And honestly, I think a whole lot of people, not just disabled people, are living like this right now. Everybody is running on emotional and many of us physical overdraft. You can see it. People are snapping at each other faster, forgetting things faster, dissociating more, struggling to focus, rest, or just feel joy. Because the human nervous system was not designed for constant crisis mode. And yet, here we are, doom scrolling through wars, climate disasters, fascism, economic collapse, violence, bigotry, and existential dread, while simultaneously trying to remember if we switched the laundry over. I didn't do any yet. It's absurd when you really think about it. And one thing that absolutely infuriates me is how often disabled and chronically ill people are expected to prove our suffering before we deserve compassion. If you are not visibly sick enough, people are just going to assume you're lazy. If you mask too well, they assume you're fine. You advocate for yourself and you're difficult or just straight up a bitch. If you can't keep up with productivity culture, you're treated like a moral failure. And I am so fucking tired of human worth being measured by output. You're not a machine. You're not a productivity app. You are not failing because your body has limits. And honestly, I think one of the cruelest lies modern society tells us is that rest has to be earned. No. Rest does not have to be earned. It is biological, necessary, and it sure as the fuck is not weakness. And yet people are made to feel guilty for needing it, especially disabled people, caregivers, parents, women, veterans, anybody whose body has already been through hell. That doesn't describe me at all. I'm going to be real with y'all for just a second. There are so many days where I am so fucking tired that even the most basic tasks feel impossible. Not because I'm lazy or unmotivated, but because pain is so exhausting. Chronic stress, exhausting. Hypervigilance is exhausting. Living inside a nervous system that never fully powers down, exhausting. And the absolutely fucked up thing is that a lot of people get so used to survival mode that they stop recognizing how depleted they actually are. You adapt to dysfunction, you normalize suffering, and you convince yourself, oh, this is just adulthood, or this is just life, or this is just how things are. But I don't actually think human beings were meant to live this disconnected from rest, community, joy, and slowness. I think we were meant to take care of each other. How shocking. I think we were meant to take care of each other, and instead, we've built systems that grind people down and then shame them for struggling under the weight of it. That's not fucking resilience. That's neglect with really good PR. And honestly, one of the most radical things disabled people often do is simply continue existing in a society that keeps trying to treat us like burdens instead of human beings. There is courage in continuing an adaptation. There is courage in learning your limits and honoring them, even while the world screams at you to ignore them. And no, that does not mean giving up. Does not mean giving up. It means understanding that survival is not a moral failing. Some days, success is activism. Some days, it's community organizing. Some days, success is getting out of bed, taking your meds, and surviving another fucking day. And all of those things count. So if you're exhausted right now, if you feel like you are running on fumes, or if you feel like you have been borrowing spoons from next week, next month, next year, just to keep your head above water, oh honey, you are so not alone. And more importantly, your exhaustion makes sense. Because this world is asking entirely too much from people while giving entirely too little back. And maybe part of resisting all of this bullshit is learning that rest, boundaries, community care, and protecting your nervous system are not selfish acts. Maybe they're survival. Maybe they're sacred. And maybe, just maybe, refusing to let this world consume every last ounce of you is one of the most powerful acts of rebellion we have left. All right. As we settle into Heartfire tonight, I want to leave y'all with this. Human beings were never meant to live like this. Not constantly terrified, exhausted, and not constantly performing productivity, patriotism, morality, or strength for systems that would replace us tomorrow without even blinking. We were never meant to exist as endless resources for extraction, not emotionally, physically, or spiritually. We are cyclical creatures. We need rest. We need reciprocity. We need care. We need safety. And we need moments where we are allowed to exist outside of usefulness. And honestly, I think modern culture is terrified of that truth. Because systems built on extraction need people to believe exhaustion is virtue. They need people too tired to question things, too overwhelmed to organize, too isolated to resist, and too burned out to give one flying fuck about each other. And witchlings, burnout is not proof of morality. Self-erasure, not proof of love. Depletion is not proof of spiritual devotion. And suffering, despite what Mother Teresa once said, does not automatically make a person righteous. You do not have to destroy yourself to earn your humanity. And after everything we've talked about tonight, Juniper, violence, war, propaganda, fear, and exhaustion, I think maybe the biggest fight a lot of us are facing right now is the fight to remain human in systems that reward cruelty and numbness. Because it is so easy right now to become cynical, to stop caring, stop feeling, and to completely retreat into hopelessness or rage. And listen, I get it. I truly get it, because there are days when I feel that way too. But I also think that's exactly what the systems of power are counting on. Because disconnected people are easier to control. Exhausted people are so much easier to manipulate. And people who no longer believe change is possible stop trying to protect each other. That's why community, mutual aid, and checking in with your people matter. That's why kindness still matters, even when the world feels like it's actively trying to beat it out of us. And no, kindness is not weakness. Compassion is not weakness. Empathy is not weakness. There is nothing weak about remaining soft in a world that rewards brutality. There is nothing weak about continuing to care when cynicism would be so much easier. And there is definitely nothing weak about protecting your own nervous system when the world is trying to turn your fear and exhaustion into fuel for somebody else's agenda. So this week, I want you to pay attention to a few things, my lovelies. What nourishes you? What drains you? Who makes you feel safe? Who benefits from your exhaustion? Where in your life reciprocity exists? Where your body has been trying to tell you the truth all along. Because your body knows things long before your mind catches up. And maybe part of surviving this moment in history is learning to listen when your nervous system says, "Hey, asshole, this is too much, it is not sustainable, and this is hurting me something serious." That isn't weakness. That's wisdom. And maybe the most radical thing any of us can do right now is refuse to let this world strip us of our humanity. Refuse to become numb, cruel, and refuse to stop caring about each other. Protect your peace where you can. Protect your people where you can. Protect yourself, especially where you can. Because ethical care has to include the self too. And you are not required to set yourself on fire just to keep proving you care. Let's check in with the chat. There we go. Hey, John. John popped in. Yeah. Oh, we had Stitch. Yay. Oh, Sombrero was here. Haha. Yes, war very much sucks. Yeah. Oh. Oh, moving the arm. All right. Yep. No, money does not create happiness. Yep. Hazel saying just keep swimming. Yes. Yeah. Spoon washer is broke. I am very much broken right now. Thank you very much, husband. Oh, being Hazel is exhausting. I'm sorry. Yes, being is exhausting. All right, let's see. Sounded better in my head. Oops. Oh. Yep. Okay, here we go. Don't. No, I didn't. I didn't delete it. Ah. There we go. All right. Yes, the trolls are really. Pizza creates happiness. Hey, Raya. Long time no see. You are not wrong there. Oh. Mm-hmm. Stay away from our children. I raised 3 kids. So. Pasta la vista is absolutely correct, John. You're good, Mimi.
Hasta la vista,
We were just looking at it and he's like, wait, did you delete it? Don't be... Mimi, you weren't the problem. The reason I said what I did. He's like, did you delete it? And I'm like, no, I didn't delete it. You deleted it just as we were looking at it. You're good, honey. All right. John has a death pizza right now. A pizza of death. Because I don't trust the blood work that says I'm not allergic to those fuckers. I'm a fun guy. Yes, and John said I love a pizza with plenty of mushrooms. John likes death pizzas. Death by pizza. All right, let's go ahead and wrap up then. Death by pizza. I do kind of want pizza now. Yeah, neither of us thought of it though. All right. It's time to wrap up, my lovelies. So, oof. Nope. This is where. All right. Yep. Here we go. Yep. We're ready. Let's go. Let's go. All right, my witchlings. It's that time. Go out there. Spread love. Spread joy. Spread kindness. There's already enough darkness and hate and discontent out there. Let each of us choose to be lights, steady beacons of hope and love for those stumbling in the darkness. Be sure your loved ones in all their forms, 2 legs, 4 legs, wings, fur, scales, paws, and claws, know how much you love them. Time is not a strict progression of cause to effect. It is more of a big ball of wibbly wobbly timey-wimey stuff that moves faster than any of us realize, which means those chances to say I love you one last time are never ever guaranteed. Now, if you take one thing and one thing only away from everything I say and do here every week, I hope it's that you always remember this. You are loved, you are wanted, you are needed, and your purpose here on this earth is very much real, even if you don't know what it is yet. I didn't figure mine out until I was 45. I hope you all have a fantabulously magical rest of your day or night, wherever you are. I will see each and every one of you later. I love you to bits. Now, before we completely go, quick little reminder. This space does exist solely because of our witchling community. I have no corporate sponsors, just shared magic, mutual care, and a whole lot of love. So do the like, share, subscribe thing. Join the channel if you can. Help us grow our community. I love you guys to bits. I'll see you soon. Namaste, witchlings. Stay informed, stay angry, stay magical, and get your asses out there and make some good trouble.